Look at this, the mailman has taken quite the swipe at this box. Yeah, it looks like Frodo Baggins has rammed his fist in there. And I hope he hasn't damaged the contents, because what we've got here is a watch from a brand that I rarely talk about, and definitely the first one in some time that's interested me. So yeah, I'll show you why I was so excited about this one, hopefully, and then we'll get into the full details of this. Okay, looks like we do actually have a watch in here, and an awful lot of packing peanuts. And I haven't seen this packaging before, but I'm assuming it's some sort of recycled packaging or something. But you'll see here, this is from Certina. Now, Certina are a Swiss brand with Swiss-made watches, and they're a subsidiary of Swatch. And I actually reached out to them when I saw this to see if they would loan one in, and they agreed, and that's because this one just looked so good. I'll link it in the description if you want to take a look at it for yourself. Now, how do I get into this? Here we go. Nice, okay. Quite unusual packaging here. It almost comes wrapped around like a little storage sleeve, which is a pretty good idea, I guess. And it also looks quite practical and small. I could imagine myself using that, actually, for holidays and stuff. But here is the watch in question, and I covered this on the newsletter a while ago. And if you want to join the newsletter, by the way, you can use the link in the description. I tend to cover all the affordable watch releases when they come out, and this was one of them. And this is the new DS-X GMT. And I just thought this one looked really sporty and cool. And it's also one of the most affordable Certina watches that I've seen, really. Now, Certina, as a Swiss brand, they're never the cheapest out there. But this one starts at about £480, which is a lot lower than some of their other models. And it's got some pretty interesting styling too. Now, I remember being really impressed with the last Certina I looked at. Now, that one was admittedly significantly more expensive. That one was their, I think, PH1000 they called it. And that was a really extreme dive watch. And it had some, great specifications, but that was like £1,000 pretty much. Whereas this one is substantially less. And it's actually still very well built. I do wonder here, straight out of the box, if this has got some sort of hardening coating on it, because definitely looks and feels different than most stainless steel watches. It's not just got a matte finish, it's definitely got some sort of surface treatment on there, so I'll have a quick look at the spec sheet in a moment. And this one's got quite an unusual dial colour too, so online, it looks like more of a dark grey, or a kind of standard grey, really, as far as watchmaking goes. But it's actually like a lighter grey, and you don't see this tone all too often at all, so it gives it a really distinctive look. As you can see here, it's almost halfway between a grey, maybe like a hint of champagne in there as well. The spec sheet here literally just says 316L stainless steel, but definitely something different going on here. Really reminds me of the Perrin watch that I looked at quite a while ago. If it's not got some hardness treatment, then it's an insane level of blasting, should I say, because it's not only got the matte finish, but definitely has just a different look to it completely. As for the rest of the specs, we've got sapphire crystal here, which is a reasonable one. Now, the lightness of the grey is a little misleading. It kind of makes it look more washed out compared to the online listings. But in person, the lightness is actually just the dial, not really the crystal with this one. It also does say it has got anti-reflective treatment on one side, so I don't know if that's the inside or the outside with this one. It also comes with Certina's shock-resistant DS technology. Not sure if the X makes a difference with this one. It doesn't seem to really look that way. But either way, it's got just a variety of different things. Got some better seals in the back, apparently. It's also got a screwed-in movement holder in the back, apparently, as well. And then some extra O-rings on the stem. You'll see there, it's got that actually fairly thin case back, considering it's got all that stuff going on. But it is a screw back there. Yeah, they are advertising the full 200-meter water resistance here, even though it doesn't say so on the dial. One thing you'll also notice is the bezel here. So you've actually got like a static inner portion of the bezel, and then some sort of compass effect here too. Now, I've got no clue how that would actually function, if I'm honest. Not seen a watch quite like that, I don't think, before. The movement in here, by the way, is the F06865. I think that's an ETA, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, ETA Swiss made, says here. So it is only a quartz movement, but there isn't a great deal of options when it comes to quartz GMTs. So to see more, even if this watch is a bit pricey than the likes of a Timex, let's say, it's still good, I think. Bracelet is also stainless steel in this case-matched blasted finish here. Super matte again. Not quite the same colour, but I'd say close enough probably. And it's also got quick release tabs there too on the bracelet. All solid links throughout. Also has a nice milled clasp here. Doesn't have any on-the-fly micro adjusts, but it does have 3 micro adjustment holes. Definitely more than usable, I would say. Does have male end links there though, so maybe it will increase the effective lug-to-lug. And it also has a screw-down crown there, so yeah, I definitely trust this thing underwater. I'll give you a closer look at that dial and then we'll get the measurements and take a look at it on wrist too. Now overall, I do think this is a pretty good looking watch. Really like that tone of silver. This is the one I specifically requested to take a look at. Does come in a few other colours. The red also looks pretty decent, the grey and red. And then it also comes in some much brighter colours, but those really didn't take my fancy. I think this one just looks really sleek and I don't know, I just feel like this is the type of colour and look that I would get a lot of use out of. Now, in all honesty though, when it comes to sizes with this watch, I probably aren't going to be able to fit it into this. But yeah, I do like it overall. I think the only element here that's really underwhelming is the hour markers, actually. They are a little bit flat, perhaps. I think they are applied and everything, but yeah, just look maybe a little flat. And I do get the impression that this is the kind of design that may even have suited standalone blocks of loom as the markers. Not sure what you think, but I don't know, I just get that impression. Either way, let's take a quick look at the sizes on this one. Now, online, this is listed as about 41 millimeters. And I guess it depends where you measure. Yeah, that's exactly 41 millimeters across there, excluding the crown guards. The lug to lug, if you want the actual lug to lug, it's a 48 on the nose. And then if you include those protruding end links, obviously it'd be a bit unrepresentative, but it's about 42.5. Now this watch is pretty slim, and it's not super slim, but it is fairly thin for a watch with such a prominent bezel, 12.2 millimeters. And as you might imagine on my 6.25 inch, actually it doesn't actually look that bad. I mean, it is probably a bit too big for something that I'd wear, but it's a real shame because if this watch were smaller, I would love to wear something like this. These colours just go exactly with my wardrobe, as you can tell, really. Really decent offering, I think, this from Certina. And not a watch that I actually own. I actually don't have a Certina right now. And I guess partly because of my tiny arm. There's a look at the thickness. Not too bad. I'd say it's about average, really, for a watch like this. And I think if you switch the strap, this would fit actually relatively compact with the lug-to-lug. It's only really the male end link that makes it push over my arm. I'm sure those of you who are after a pure bang for the buck wouldn't want to spend this much, especially not on a quartz GMT, but I have to say I am a fan of this, and it doesn't really look like anything else, or at least not quite. You do see that sort of handset used in a lot of places, but the rest of the design, especially this bezel, really like that. And you can see why I wanted to take a look at this. And one thing I also want to take a look at is the luminescence. Now, I can't remember how the last one performed, the last Certina. Now, it's really dark in here today, admittedly, so it might throw it off a bit. We'll give that a good blast. And yeah, really good initial brightness. Yeah, overall performance seems pretty good indeed, especially on the hands. Does look like those markers will fade a fair chunk quicker though, but I guess it's the hands that matter the most potentially, and those are really bright, which is good to see. It is a bit of a shame though how there isn't really anything here on the bezel. I feel like that's maybe a bit of a missed opportunity with how cool the bezel looks in the daytime, but overall definitely usable here from this Certina, no doubt. Yeah, overall this watch is pretty much exactly what I was hoping it would be. Really cool watch with a really cool name. It's linked down in the video description if you want to take a look at it for yourself. Just has that really versatile colour scheme, I think. And that's what I often find myself just reaching for. I can have, you know, watches with cool dials and all that, with fancy textures. But often it's just the style and the colour is what really makes me actually end up wearing a watch long term. I'd love to know what you think. I mean, this has got to be the best looking Certina I've seen.